Hey guys, it's Max. In this video I'm talking about the just announced A7S II. It was announced about 8 hours ago. I think most people were not expecting this camera this soon. I just put up my A7R2 review yesterday and the video a couple days before that, so you guys could check that on my website. But it just came as a shock. I actually woke up in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled out Facebook and somebody posted something literally just after the announcement went out. So it was definitely a surprise to me. Now this video is just about the announcement. You can't even pre-order this camera yet. So if you're watching this in the future, this is not a review. This is me just talking about the new features about this camera and a little bit of concerns that I have. Now before I get into this, I just want to say I'm shooting this with another Sony camera that I just got in that also shoots 4K. I'm testing out the autofocus, the face detect. I registered my face into the camera, so we'll see how well the camera does. You guys can let me know the image quality and how the autofocusing system works, especially those who have been following me for a while. I'm also testing out the internal microphone system and to see just the quality of it. I have this lav plugged in directly into the camera, so those of you that follow my videos, you can also let me know how it sounds. If you guys want to take a guess what this camera is, you guys could guess, and then the second link in the video description is going to be the camera that I'm using right now, so you guys could check that out. So first off, I just want to start out that this camera, one thing that was rumored, what everybody was talking about, that's going to be bigger, the A7S II. In fact, it's the same exact body as this A7R2, which does bring up a couple concerns that I'll mention as we go along here. So first off, guys, if you want to take a look at the complete specs, I'm not going over everything. The first link in the video description is to the product page for the A7S II at B&H, so you guys can click that and check that out. So one thing that everybody thought it's going to have is the in-body image stabilization. Of course it has it. It's the same system as the A7R2. It does a good job. It's great to be able to use prime lenses that don't have IS or other lenses that you adapt to this camera and still have that, so it's definitely a plus. One concern though, the same body and this in-body image stabilization system on the A7R2, my guess is that's what's causing it to overheat in 4K. If you guys saw my review, you'll notice that the camera, the A7R2 that came out about a month ago, is overheating at average 15 minutes. If you're in hotter temperatures, faster. If you're in colder, it might last a little bit longer, but it still overheats even in cold temperatures. So this is a concern for me. I was hoping the camera to be a little bit larger to make sure it doesn't overheat. Now, when you have the in-body image stabilization, when the actual sensor is moving around, you can't attach a solid large heatsink to the sensor because it has to move around. Because of that, it's going to heat up more, and with such a small body and a large sensor, I think that's where the heating issues are coming through, especially that 4K takes a lot of processing power for the processor as well. So that's probably the biggest concern that I have. So I guess we'll see once this camera launches. I think about a month from now it should be here already, unless they push it back. The next thing is S-Log3, so I put out another log format, better in the shadows basically, so very interesting. We have another option and they're saying it's an improvement, so that's definitely welcome. My kind of wonder is if they're gonna give this S-Log3 to other cameras, because if you have an A7S, the original, or another camera, or even the camera I'm using right now, and you're trying to color match it, it'd be a lot easier if they can both use S-Log3 instead of just keeping this exclusive for the A7S II. So that's something we're gonna have to look at. The next thing is 120 frames per second at full HD. So this is something that's really great to have. The Samsung NX1 does have this, and it uses autofocus and it can record sound while doing this. I'm not sure about how Sony's gonna do with sound and with autofocus, but anyways, it's really, really nice to have that slow of a speed in 1080p recording. Gets you some really great slow motion. If you want to do some slow motion booth or just anything like that, it's great to have. We'll see what the image quality looks like. They're saying that this is capable, basically the camera could do this because of a better processor inside. So I'm also wondering about the shutter roll. If the processor is better, we should have less shutter roll, in theory at least. So the A7S was known to not have very good shutter roll performance. It had basically one of the worst cameras as far as shutter roll. So this should make it better, but of course we will see. Next thing is the Gamma Display Assist. Now if you're shooting S-Log, everything is really, really flat. and it's not sharp, so sometimes it makes it just kind of hard to see what your image is like, and also focus, to get that sharp focus. So hopefully this is going to help. It's basically going to give you a normal looking image like you're shooting with a standard picture profile, but then once you take the footage in your camera, it's going to be your S-Log. So I think this is definitely a big plus. A lot of people use external monitors that you can put a LUT into, and so this is going to be able to help you do this kind of in camera. Of course, you're not going to have the whatever custom LUT you want, but it's definitely going to be helpful. They're also adding more zebra. For the zebra functionality, you can have more range, so a lot broader selection for you to dial in kind of exactly what you want. The next thing is twice as fast video autofocus is what they're saying. Now this probably is them comparing to the older A7S. That's my guess. The A7S didn't have very good video autofocus. The A7R2 did definitely improve upon that. So it's probably similar to the A7R2, that's my guess at least. But we'll see. The A7R2 does do a decent job. It's better than GH4, but of course there's other cameras that do a better job in video autofocusing if that's something that's important to you. Now the next thing is it's doing a full sensor readout 4K, so no pixel binning. So this is just like the A7S. The A7S, you couldn't record that internally, but it still did a full sensor readout. This is doing a full sensor readout as well. That's great because it's going to keep the image quality good. If you're shooting with the A7R2, especially in the full frame mode, the image quality is less detailed than the Super 35 mode because it's doing pixel binning. So that's definitely a great thing. The sensor, as far as I could see, is exactly the same. That's what I've heard. So it's not backside illuminated, so they're not improving the technology, using the older sensor. So the low light, as far as that, should be similar, but they did say that they've improved the processing, the software side of things, so the low light is supposed to be a little bit better. Now, like I said, it's not a new type of sensor. Like the A7R2 has that backside illuminated sensor, which does improve low light. Once again, this is still going to be the best low light camera, so it really doesn't need it, but you know, they're probably going to introduce that in the next one. So I mentioned the body and the image stabilization that might make the camera overheat. A couple other things that I wanted to kind of bring up is with the A7R2, as soon as you hit record, the LCD gets a lot darker and the contrast really gets knocked down. Not sure why, maybe because the battery can't give enough juice for it to record in 4K internally and run the LCD on full brightness like it can in photos. So that's one thing that I want to see. If they're going to improve that, that's going to work better. Most of the body, most everything else is staying the same. The back LCD is the same. The viewfinder is improved. It's the same one that's in the new A7R2. So lastly, I want to mention is the price. They raised the price by $500. The A7S is $2,500. This guy is $3,000. So I wish they didn't raise the price. I'm sure almost everybody wishes they didn't. And they do have some improved tech. They have the in-body image stabilization system that does cost more to put in the camera. They do have that better viewfinder. They have the newer body of the A7R2. A lot of other things are staying the same. The sensor is the same. The LCD on the back is the same. So it's not like they've really improved everything. They improved a lot of the software side of things, is what they're mentioning. So it's interesting that they're raising the price. My guess is because there's no good competition, there's no other affordable full frame camera that shoots 4K, they're able to raise the price and they can get away with it. Now, if Canon and Nikon stepped up and they had their own 4K shooters, I think they'd have to keep the price down. But, you know, that is what it is. Canon, Nikon, you guys really need to step up. The other guess that I have is they're probably still going to be selling the A7S for $2,500 and saying, hey, if you want the new couple of, little features that we updated, the 4K internal, which they're not little, they're big features, but 4K internal, you want the in-body image stabilization, pay up. That's a guess. Maybe they're going to knock the A7S price down a little bit, but they may still sell them side by side. So I'm really looking forward to trying this camera out as soon as it's available for a pre-order. and seeing what it does, seeing if it overheats or not. That's a huge thing. You need a camera that's reliable if you're doing paid shoots. You can't afford it shutting off on you. I know some people say, oh, it's okay, I only need some short clips, and that might be fine for you. But if you're doing videography professionally, you're making money on this, you need something that's going to be reliable no matter what, not shutting off on you. So I'd like to see how they address that. If you guys want more info, want to see the full specs on this camera, of course, that first link in the video description will bring you to the B&H page. And if you guys want to join my A7S group on Facebook, the A7S II group, there'll be a link in the video description. So just a bunch of people that are looking forward to the camera that may or may not buy it. So any new news is going to be posted there. We can have discussions, polls, stuff like that. So find the link in the video description. You guys can join that group, and we could talk about this camera. So thank you guys for watching, and I really look forward to getting this camera in and seeing what it's capable of. I'll see you guys in the next one.